Looking back at an amazing moment that happened in the early 70s, on this day, as of when we're recording this, Pink Floyd actually released Dark Side of the Moon. I was just curious as to any sort of thoughts or feelings on that record or memories of Pink Floyd.
Well, you happen to hit a very good topic. I happen to be very familiar with Pink Floyd, but more importantly, I happen to be very familiar with Dark Side of the Moon, and I'll tell you why in a second.
Okay.
You know anything about Pink Floyd? They were notorious for, they didn't give interviews.
Right.
Almost nobody knew their names. Nobody could name the four guys in Pink Floyd.
Right.
Nowadays, maybe, Roger Waters, wasn't he in the band? David Gilmour, but nobody knew the four guys in Pink Floyd, believe me, until years later. But in the 80s, I developed a really good friendship to this day, very good friends with him. When I go out to Santa Barbara, I go visit, or we get dinner when he comes to Florida, where I am now. We get together, or I go see him every time he tours. I'm very good friends with Alan Parsons. Does that name mean anything to you?
I've heard that name countless times, yes.
All right. Well, Alan Parsons is the guy who engineered Dark Side of the Moon.
Right.
And he was an engineer at Abbey Road, and he did Dark Side of the Moon. But I'll tell you some stories that a lot of people don't know. The reason Dark Side of the Moon, it was a great record, obviously.
Yeah.
But, they had Alan Parsons, who's considered one of the greatest engineers of all time. You know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
Alan Parsons Project. He's done all sorts of other people, the Hollies, Al Stewart, on and on. But Pink Floyd was before he did the record, 2 years before the record came out, the band he had worked on a little bit, one of their previous albums, Omaguma, I think, or Adam Hart Mother, one of them.
Okay.
But he was just a basic engineer.
Right.
They said, look, we want you to work with us on our next album, which we just finished writing it, but we don't want to record it until we play it live. So we're going to go out on the road with a quadraphonic sound system. We want you to come on the road and be the engineer for the live show.
Wow.
Well, can you imagine? Alan Parsons is doing the live. Most people didn't know who they remember the Dark Side tour was amazing because of the sound and everything. And this is what Alan told me. He said, and it's true, when they got done and they went into the studio, he was so well versed in the album because he'd seen it 50 times already.
Right.
He knew so when they went to record it, that's what made it so unbelievable. They knew every nuance. And
he'd heard it in such a massive system night after night, too.
Yeah, and he ended up getting a Grammy nomination for Best Engineered Album. And the album's been on the charts forever.
Right.
And so it was a groundbreaking album. It put Pink Floyd in another league. They actually had somewhat of a hit single with Money.
Right.
But it really, what it did for the business? It made it like nobody wants to buy the single. They want to buy the whole album and listen to it from beginning to end. And that's when albums started selling. Sgt. Pepper is the one people point to, and that's true. Mm-hmm. But Dark Side is the one where, I got to have the whole album, and I got to listen to the whole thing from beginning to end. And had you seen Pink Floyd, the previous tour, you already know the album. You're going to be in love with it before you even put it on.
That's such a fascinating concept to me because in my lifetime, it's never been done that way where you tour the album live before releasing it.
I'm sure amazing. There may be some unknown people that have done it, but they were the first major band to do it. And you're right. It is an amazing thing.
It is. Wow. Thank you so much for that story. I appreciate it.